What's going on, guys? It's EROCK, Revolver Underground, doing Skype interviews, and I am here with Trevor Sewell. And what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm fine. It's great to talk to you, EROCK. It's been a while. We've sort of passed emails in the past, but it's nice to I can actually see you on the screen now.
Nice to connect in real life, I guess. Yeah. Very nice. So now you're hanging out in the UK, right?
That's right. Yeah.
What part?
I live in the northeast of England, which is Newcastle. I actually live in Sunderland, about 12 miles away from it, but most people have heard of Newcastle, so that's the nearest one. I'm from there as well.
Oh, rock on. Very cool, very cool. Well, that's a nice thing about technology is we can have this conversation, just hang out at in our houses and enjoy life that way. But first of all, I just want to say thanks for hanging out. Do appreciate that. I know it's a little bit later over there where you're at, but appreciate you hanging out, staying up, and doing this for everybody. But I guess you got a lot of stuff going on, man. What has been going on? You told me a little bit about some of the things you got. You got the British Blues Awards. You got some other things that are happening here in LA as well. But let's start off with we'll get into that in a minute. Let's start off with just what's the biggest thing that's happening right now for you?
I think the biggest thing that's happening at the moment is because the British Blues Awards we've just finished those now, is November 15 in LA at the Fonda Theatre. I've got a couple of nominations for the Hollywood Music and Media Awards and the Best Blues thing, which I actually won last year as well.
Yes, which is awesome too. Now, how did you get involved in that?
Right, this happened sort of quite by accident. I've made my album and I thought, right, I've got it. What do I do with it now? So I started doing all sorts of things and following weird sites through the internet. And I think it was Music Submit or Music X-Ray. It was one of those sites that finally I finished up at the Hollywood Music and Media site. And so I submitted something, and then as I pressed the button, I thought, well, that's a pretty stupid thing to do. That's just gone somewhere, And lots of months later, I was on Google, and I freely admit I do Google myself, And I Googled myself and I saw this thing that said Los Angeles, Trevor Sewell. And I thought, God, there's a Trevor Sewell in Los Angeles. That's good, isn't it? And then I saw Where the Wild Ones Go. I thought, Andy's written a song just like mine. And then I saw Sunderland. I thought, the coincidence, hang on, Sunderland. So I clicked on it, and it was like the HMMA had contacted us, but I'd, for some strange reason, decided it was spam and hadn't opened it. And trash, So I found out through Google. It was great.
Wow.
I got straight on them and they went, yeah, it's actually, that is what's happened.
So you remember getting that email though, right? You remember seeing that that they sent it to you and you just wrote it off?
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff. I was getting a lot of spam at the time, and there was about 3 or 4 all had HMMA on the top. And I thought, HMMA, I'm not really sure what that is. So so I'll just get rid of them, It's like, quick.
So how did that? I mean, that obviously was probably a pretty big point in in your life, from submitting it to saying it's probably not going to happen, to actually seeing it and being in that. What was your immediate response to that? Obviously, you were excited, but what were your thoughts?
Right. If I'm being honest, my immediate response was I thought this is fantastic, and I thought, this is just too good to be true. This is like, and I didn't tell anybody at all. And then I had one of my mates round, and he's a drummer. He's just dropping into a session for us, and I said, "Look, I'm going to show you something, right?" And he looked at it, and we looked at the site, and we thought, "It looks great, It's like, it looks great, and there's my name there, and it's the nominees, and there's my name there." So I said, "Well, what could be wrong with this?" And he says, "Well, I can't find anything wrong with it." So I sort of did a bit of research, and I thought, "Hey, this is really actually true." This, so I've got the plaque on the wall downstairs now, so it's like, wow, So this year, I'm sort of like, I'm really buzzing about,
right.
Oh, great, Hollywood again, it's brilliant, It's
wow.
So
this is something. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was same to you there. You carry on there, mate.
So this is something that you would suggest, not necessarily just this event, but just things of this nature in every genre. This is something that you would suggest other artists to get involved with, because the publicity from this, I'm assuming, has been pretty decent.
Yeah, it's like the weird thing was that because I live so far away, and because Hollywood is such a word, it's like it's Hollywood, it's like so it's like when I got nominated because I had 3 nominations last year as well. Then it was like I sort of started leaking it out. I leaked it out through Facebook because I found that Facebook for somebody like me is just a fantastic thing, and the reason being because. If you've just sort of been nominated for something like sort of as big as that, it's a very difficult thing to bring up in a situation when you're just out in the pub with your mates. It's a bit like, hey, you'll never guess what happened to me today. So I tend to just not tell anybody, So I thought what I'll do is I'll put it on Facebook because that's not like sort of bragging or anything, You
Right.
just put it on with a link, and things like that. And gradually people started getting interested, and then I'd be out, in the town, and people would come up and say, what's happening with this Hollywood thing? And say, well, and I felt much better about it then because then I could sort of tell them about it. And then the paper picked up on it, and I started getting more and more radio plays over here because the really cool thing about it was that America has been great for me so far because I've had like lots and lots of radio plays in different parts of America. Now, the UK is not quite the same like that, So actually the Hollywood thing fed back and it raised my profile over here, which has in turn led us to being nominated for the British Blues Awards, which wouldn't have happened if it hadn't been for Hollywood, So it's a classic story of going to America and come back home.
That is crazy, man. Wow.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, that's cool though. I mean, those are the stories that I love hearing that are just you're just like, what? What happened? But that is that's crazy. Now, how many are you nominated for this year?
I'm nominated for 3.
3, okay.
But one of them is actually in a different thing. It's actually an ambient music. It's not what I do normally, and I've actually got it in under a different name because I didn't want to get it confused with what I normally do,
Sure.
But I've got another 2 tracks off Me Calling Your Name album. They're both nominated in the blues section. So it's 4 tracks I've had off that album now nominated at the HMMA, which is like, I mean, I owe the HMMA a lot, I think it's like, for all I was skeptical at the beginning,
Right.
It's fantastic, great, what can I say?
Man, that is very cool. Like I said, I love hearing those stories about just the random things that happened. That I mean, it wasn't really random. You did it, but then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it just blew up, and you got Hollywood stuff going on. So anyway,
I never get sick of hearing that word, Hollywood.
Man, I tell you what, I have been here for. I just moved to Los Angeles from Nashville, Tennessee, and I've been here for about little over 2 months. And I'm excited. This is where I've always wanted to be from day one. I can always remember I've been out here a few times visiting, and the last time I was.
You did the Grammys, didn't you?
What's that?
You came out for the Grammys, didn't you?
I did, yeah. I was out here last February for the Grammys, and I think that's what solidified everything. Is I started seeing. It'd been a while since I've been out here, so I started seeing all the things that I had once loved before, and they were all those feelings coming back, and I'm just like, man, I gotta go. I gotta get out here. I started making the contacts, and the first week I was out here, I got invited to a red carpet event. So it's just one of those things where everything has moved so quickly. Just like you for your stuff, everything is falling into place. It's happening, and it's just an amazing feeling. It's awesome, and I have never lived this close to the beach before, or the ocean in general. And
you've gone too far now. Can you please stop telling us how close you live to the beach? No, I'm not jealous. Why would you be jealous?
Oh, all right, man. But anyway, here's the deal. I want to talk a little bit about your writing. What would be the perfect writing environment for you?
Well, I sort of write. I've always been the same. I sort of write anywhere. I write on anything really, and nothing. It's like if I'm sitting and I've got my phone, I'll sort of write something. Sometimes I do it actually quite often. In fact, when I'm watching the television, because the television will be on and things, but I'll sort of be strumming around, and it's like I think it gets on my nerves a bit sometimes when I'm doing that. But sometimes I stick my phone on my iPad, and I think, oh, that's a good little riff. I like that bit, and I'll stick it down, and you can hear the television above it when I play it back later on, but it doesn't matter, you know, because like you think, oh, there's a melody line in there somewhere, and then a lot of those things I never listen to, and then every now and again I'll just have I'll go on, I'll try something like this, like, oh God, I forgot about that. Yeah, I'll go and do that, and then I go and record it, you know. So it's it can be anything. I mean, I like writing on guitars. For years I wrote on keyboards, you know.
Yeah. So I know that this is kind of it's kind of a possibly a dumb question, but what do you like to write about? What I mean, I know it's there's some blues stuff, and blues kind of has its own little thing to write about. But what do you like to write about?
Do you know, it's like when I think about lyrics, because I sort of write for other people as well, you know, and it's just like you sort of just get you just get into a sort of a place, I think, and it's just you just have a mental thing, and if you're writing from like I've written a lot of songs for girls to sing as well. But you just sort of, it's a bit like method acting, you know, you just sort of like, you're strumming about and you just sort of get into the vibe of it. Mm-hmm. And I don't know why. I think there's a little bloke inside here in a little writing department, and he's quite canny with words, you know, so I just sort of trust him. I think, yeah, he'll turn something out, turn something, you know. and I just sort of get him down. A lot of the songs actually just come out almost in one. The title track of the album, Calling Your Name, was a strange one because it's all me guide vocal on that. Because in actually I think it's a second verse on it. I just sang the second verse and I didn't have any words for it.
Oh.
And it was me guide vocal anyway. But I thought, actually that sounds all right. That's good. We'll leave that. You know, it's not broke, so let's not fix it. You know. So. It really does sort of happen like that sometimes. And also I'm really into with the Call Your Name album. I sort of like I finally got away from my studio making us do things a million times and produce the life out of things, you know.
Right.
That's why I've used a lot of the guitar tracks on my guide guitar tracks that I've just sort of gone back in and just fixed the little bits rather than coming back out and thinking, right, how can I split these down? How can I make? And you know, it's like going back to the spirit of how when you first started playing, that's how you played, you know. And it's like, you know, you thought, yeah, I like that. So I've sort of gone back to that. It's back to basics, you know, really. And I'm enjoying playing more now than I've ever enjoyed playing, I think, you know.
Wow.
And I've got a great band. So
how long have you been playing?
Oh God. About 150 years next birthday, I think.
Nice.
Approximately. You know, it's like quite a long time, more than 2 weeks. I should have to think how many years really. I should have to think.
Well, let me ask you this one, Len. What is it? Is it harder? Is it harder now than it was, say, 5 or 7 years ago to be an artist, to be a musician?
It's different now. I remember, like, if I go back a bit further than that, when I used to be in bands with record deals, I think that the last say 5 years, the most difficult thing, as against being with a label. With a label, it was great. Everybody did everything for you. You didn't make any money, but you became like pretendy pop stars. You know, it's like because you had the big trucks and you had crew and things like that, but you didn't actually have anything. You know, and it's like when they finally sort of like decided they didn't want you on the label anymore, you just went out and the clothes you were standing up in, like. So. Whereas these days, I spent a lot of time. And I think a lot of people still think like, got to have a record deal, you know.
Right.
And it's been through my mind so many times now that. Am I just thinking I don't need a record deal because I can't get one? Or actually because I really don't need one? Because sometimes I think, what would they do for us, you know? It's like, I almost don't get it now. So I think it's that period, this last 5 years particularly, probably with a lot of people, where the mindset is just sort of changing and thinking, actually it is okay to not have a record company. Maybe you don't need one, you know, because your overheads are so much smaller. And you know, if I'm like, I think what I have rediscovered in the last 2 years with doing this, since I went solo, is that when I started playing, I didn't start playing because I thought, oh yeah, I could earn some money with that. You know, I probably went down that route over a lot of years where I've been sort of playing sessions and things, but then suddenly you get back and you think, no, that's not why I stopped playing. I stopped playing because I like it, you know. Mm-hmm. And there's something about if you're doing something for the right reasons, I found it a few times in my life where you've just gone done something because you liked it, and you haven't thought about the market, and you haven't thought about will it make us any money or anything like that. And other people, there must be some kind of honesty in it that other people sort of see, And it's like, I don't know what it is. It's not because it's been expensively produced or anything like that. I think it's just because it is what it is,
Yeah, I agree, and I think too that being that I have an indie show, I deal with indie artists all the time. I love it because they usually do it for the money. I mean, the majority of my artists are out there doing it not for the money. I'm sorry, for the love of music.
Absolutely.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, if you're doing it for the money, if you're doing it for fame, if you're doing it for fortune, you're not going to last very long. There's very few artists out there that, even if mommy and daddy have the money to get them further, they still have to fund themselves later on, and then they find out that this isn't something that I have to still do work. I can't do this. I don't want to do this anymore. Well, for indie artists, that's all they've known. They've always done that. And
Absolutely.
And I love working with that because, meeting people like you've been through the game. You've been through record labels. You've done all that stuff. And you've come back and said, you know what? I love music and I want to do it for the music. I don't want to do it for any of this other stuff. If you get some awards, if you make some money, if you get some fame, that's great. But that's not the reason why you're doing it. So
that's absolutely. I think you've really hit it on the head there when you said about, like, maybe you have money behind you and things like that, but when it starts getting to the point where it's not going so great, you think, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And when you really like doing it, and you've always liked doing it, and it's such a big part of your life, you never think like that. You just think like, oh God, what'll I go and do now? I'll pick my guitar up and I'll do something or something like that,
Yep.
And you just sort of follow where it goes. And that's a really great thing about it. I feel really lucky to have discovered music so early on.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
for it being such a big part of my life, So I think it's great,
Now, has there ever been a time in your life where you have said to yourself, I'm not so sure about this career choice anymore. I'm not so sure that I want to go down this road anymore.
Yeah, do you know there's only one time when that happened, and I think what it was is the music business was very age conscious as well, which it's not now. It's absolutely great, nobody cares, it's like that's sort of how it should be.
Yeah.
But I remember I got to me, I won't tell you how long ago it was, but I got to my 40th birthday, and I just sort of thought, sell by it, it's like, maybe that's pretty much it. And for 2 or 3 years, I went off and I did other stuff because I do everything in house here,
Mm-hmm.
And I also I write music for, like, sort of TV and things and things like that as well. So I sort of went off and I went to university and I got a degree. It was just like, it was the most bizarre thing ever, And while I did that course, I was still playing all of the time, but I was just playing in the house, and actually I was probably still doing a couple of gigs a week as well. So even that was the equivalent of us doing nothing, because I used to gig every night of the week at one time,
Oh wow.
And then it just got to the point where it was almost like another little awakening thing, where I thought, no, that's like, you can't stop doing this because you like it.
Yeah.
And it becomes more and more part of you, so it's like, so I thought, yeah, great, okay. And then I realized that actually nobody really gave a toss about the age thing anyway, so it's like, it's just all right, back into it again. And it's like, I really like it,
It seems to be working out.
It could be gigs, and it's like, and I really like that, because they come up and talk to us at the end, and tell us about the vintage on my guitar, which I don't know much about guitars, but I have got some nice ones, and they'll come up and say, like, oh, can I have a look at the serial number? And you go, serial number, like, blimey. They'll tell you loads about it, it's like, oh, this is a blah, and you go, hey, fantastic, thanks.
Yeah.
I knew it was gold, and I knew this one was red.
People ask me that all the time about radio and all, about the ins and outs of the show, and I'm just like, I don't have any idea. I'm the pretty one. I just show up and people tell me what to do. I don't know what I'm doing. I just do this. Yeah. But yeah, it's, I don't know. It's one of those things where we just do what we love. We may not know a lot about it, but that's not going to stop us from doing it and from carrying on. So, I don't know, man. I think that I think the industry. Here's a loaded question for you. You can You can choose to answer it or not. But the music industry today,
Yeah.
how do I say this nicely? It blows. It sucks. It's horrible. But it's not. But at the same time, it's not. Where do you think? Where do you think it's headed? What's happening right now? I mean, because on my side of things, I'm seeing the indie scene moving up, and the record labels are falling. Like you said earlier, you don't need a record label anymore. You can a la carte it. You can hire a manager. You can hire a production person. You can do all this stuff on your own. What's going on? What do you think?
Right. Well, I think that yes, we both agree that the record companies have. What's happened? They've become people who have jobs with nothing to do, really, because it's like because they don't need to be there. I think they know it. It's like, but also you've got the rise of things like the online A&R things. Like your taxis and your music X-rays and stuff and things like that. And whereas 18 months ago, I might not have said this, but because of the Hollywood thing, I thought, blimey, you actually really can do this, because I was a skeptic, right? I've seen lots of things about you put a track up on MySpace and everybody comes and you get 4 million hits, and all of a sudden you've got an album that sounds like it's been produced in a really expensive studio by a major record label who you've just signed to. It's like, I think, scam.
Yep.
But there's also things like sort of sync rights and things, it's like, which you get access to music supervisors now. I mean, it's maybe not easy access, but it's certainly, before you didn't even know the name music supervisor. That was like such a sort of like, don't let the musicians know about this, they might like it, and it's like I see it going probably further like that. And with films and stuff like that, the look for unknown indie artists who can become dead cool. It's like, because I know that's to do with budgets as well. Of course, you can get like indie artists like that, but it's also what a fantastic break, to get a song in a film that maybe is going to really do something, and then all of a sudden you're the new cool kid on the block, right, as well. So it's a new way of looking at things, and in the old days, distribution, you could go and make a record and you could sell it to your mates, but you couldn't get it into the shops. You could get it into your local shop, but it's like that's all you could do. Now you can stick it up on CD Baby and iTunes and Amazon and everywhere like that, and it's possible for people to find it. It's healthy, I think.
So, would you say it's safe to say that the world is more accessible to musicians as far as getting their music out?
Yes, I would definitely say that. Even when you've got a record deal, I mean, I was signed to EMI for a while. And even when you sign into a major like that, and you've got the budget, it doesn't necessarily mean to say you get to do everything what you want to do, or what you want to do when you want to do it. It's like with this situation, really, it's like I mean, I'm not signed to anybody for anything, publishing anything at all like that, So, and I think most indie artists are like that, and that's got to be a plus. In a way, you wanted to be signed because what you wanted is this sort of big brother type thing to say, all right, we're going to look after you now. We've got loads of money. You don't have to do anything. You're safe now. It never used to work like, but it's sort of like that sort of safety blanket thing. Whereas now it's just getting used to the fact that you actually don't need that. It's not cool. It's like you don't need this anymore. So I think really musicians should just concentrate just simply on making music,
Sure.
and then see where it leads them, and just like following their instincts, because that's all I do. And like what you're saying with moving to LA, lots of things start happening, and I think it takes all these things take on an energy of their own for a while. Because I didn't do anything about the stuff after that, and it was still escalating, and then it sort of like plateaued out a bit. So I thought, I'll contact some people and see if they'd be interested in it, and all of a sudden it got its energy back again and started doing a bit more. I thought, okay, then I get it. When it stops doing something, then you've got to go and do something and tell it to get some more energy there.
Yep.
But there's that thinking time in between where initially you don't know what to do, and you think, oh well, at least I can see where it is now. I push that a little bit and see what happens, you know. And I think it's really exciting, you know. Like I feel like I'm about sort of 15 again, you know. It's great.
Very nice, very nice. Well, now, do you think that it's? Do you think it's? Have you played here in the U.S. at all? Much?
No, no. I've sort of played like lots of places, and I've always wanted to play the US. And you know, I've never played in the US. So it's like bands I've been with. They've always toured before I've joined, or I've left and they've gone to the States. It's a bit like everybody in the music business has got this thing about like, hey, Anno, let's make sure Trevor never gets to go and play the US. Like, you know, oh, great, he's left the band, but go play America now, you know.
It's a conspiracy.
Yeah, conspiracy. Yeah, it's like, yeah, I'm probably exaggerating a bit there now, but yeah. So, but I really want to come and play in the US. You know, it's like we're investigating at the moment possibilities of maybe coming to Los Angeles because for some reason a lot of the stuff. I mean, when you were at Grammys week, there was also the music in the Artists and Music Awards as well that week because I was nominated in that as well. You know.
Yep.
So there's a lot of stuff seems to be happening in Hollywood. You know, and it's like, so I'm hoping to come there next month for November the 5th.
Well, we're going to need
November 15th. Sorry, 15th.
We're going to need to hang out when you get here, at least for lunch or something, so we can, you know, just hang out.
Well, come down to the awards on the night, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That would be great. That.
So here's a you worked with an artist, a lovely lady actually, who most of us here in the States would probably know her from Meatloaf's 1993 hit single, "I Do Everything for Love." It's Lorraine Crosby. What was your relationship with her?
Right. Well, quite a few years ago, maybe 15 or something like that. I went on tour just for a week. I did a week session of touring with Lorraine in Germany. Ironically enough, the bass player there that was playing with Lorraine there as well, he's now in my band, you know. Mm-hmm. And we hadn't played. We've seen each other odd times in between times, but it's been sort of really cool the way it's worked out. Now Lorraine, honestly, I mean, everybody says this about people that know, but Lorraine is really something special. Like, I mean, she's really quite an amazing singer, and you know, and it's great because she's so drop round. And like if I need a voice on something, I can phone Lorraine up, and she'll just say, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll be there in half an hour." You know, and it's like, wow. She's really cool, and it's like she used to be managed by Jim Steinman, and I thought that would have really. I think that's how the Meatloaf came in.
Yep.
The Meatloaf thing came in. I mean, when Meatloaf did come out here, he did the arena here, and you know he shouted for Lorraine to get up, and Lorraine got up and did anything for Love Bit and things. The only reason why she wasn't because she wasn't actually in the video for it. She was just a voice on it. Sure. It was something to do with the unions, and she couldn't get it for that, which is like a bit of a shame, really, you know.
Yeah.
But she does a lot of. Can you remember Bonnie Tyler?
Yeah.
She Total Eclipse of the Heart and things like that.
Yeah.
Lorraine does a lot of stuff with Bonnie out here, you know, and she does Newcastle City Hall, which is a really nice gig in Newcastle. Mm-hmm. Every year. Bonnie comes up as sort of special guest and things, but she's really great. And I sort of like, I just said one day, I said, do you fancy doing a duet? And I don't know why I said it, because I thought she'd go like, I thought she'd just give us a funny look, and she went, oh yeah, I'll be all right then, go write one, you know. I thought, okay. And then I phoned up and I said, hey, I've got a duet there, and she went, oh great. And she came across and she did her bit in about like sort of 10 minutes or something like that, because that's the other thing, she's the only one I know that comes in here that just does stuff straight away, and you sort of almost want to say, well, do you want to do it again? And then you think, well, no, it's actually great.
It's actually good.
Yeah, but it should take all day, you know. It's like,
wow.
She's a really great person as well, you know. It's like, so I've known her for a long time, you know. And she's never changed. She's always been exactly the same, you know. So I'd love to do some more stuff with her. That would be great. You know?
Sure, absolutely. What's your favorite or your most memorable show experience?
I think probably my most memorable ones were I did some. It was a session one actually. It was the first time I did a really big place. You know, like. I was with they're not very well known, but they were in their country. They're actually Norwegian. They were a band called the Monroes, but the band was like English, American, Irish, and we went across there, and their album was #1 and things, and we did like the ice hockey stadium.
Oh yeah.
And that was just like really cool. And Katrina and the Waves were supporting me, you know.
Yeah.
And it was really great because I'd heard of them. I hadn't heard of us, you know. It's like, but that was like just sort of like, because I've played so many very small places with hardly anybody in.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, to do a whole tour where you were playing like the sort of like outside events, but really big crowds and things. That was like fantastic, you know. It was like it definitely does you some good, you know.
Yeah.
But there's such a lot of sort of different things. I did a great thing with somebody from Hollywood a while back, you know, which is like, we were the first ones to actually do it. There's a company in West Hollywood called eJamming. I don't know if you've heard of them or not.
I've heard of it, yeah.
Right. Well, eJamming, they launched their software at Frankfurt at the music fair 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And how they launched it is they had an American guitar player called John King in Frankfurt. They had a keyboard player, a German one, playing from a studio in Cologne in Germany, and I had me playing and singing from my house, this very room, in fact, there. And we're all playing live to Frankfurt, you know, over the internet. And that was just an amazing experience, because we did it like for 4 days, and I became really good friends with him, you know. In fact, last year, Gail, the CEO from eJamming, she went in, because I was meant to be out in Hollywood last year, but unfortunately I got taken into hospital, so I had to cancel my flight. And Gail came out for us, because she lives there, and she went and collected me things and stuff like that, you know. But also the keyboard player, Martin Ernst, who's like, he's played with a lot, like Joe Cocker and a lot of people like that. He's a fantastic keyboard player. I became really good friends with him, and it was so weird, because it's like, you know how I'm talking to you now, you know, it's like, I sort of feel like I know you, you know. Yeah. But we spent 4 days like that, and it was only right at the end when Gail said, well, I hope I get to meet you guys one day. And I thought, God, I've never met these people. How did that work, you know? Martin finished up playing on one of the tracks on my album. Actually, one of the ones that's nominated, he played Hammond organ for us, but he did the session from Germany, you know. And that was just such a bizarre thing, you know.
Yeah. Wow. That would be kind of fun, though, because now you all were in separate areas, though, right? I mean,
separate countries.
That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous.
I'll tell you the most weird thing about this era. It's like, I saw there's a clip somewhere on the internet where, and it was how when it really brought it home to me what we'd sort of been doing, because I've been playing and singing here, and I saw a clip of the Frankfurt Music Messe, because I'd never seen what John looked like before, but I'd rehearsed with him from Florida. He was in Florida and up here, and anyway, German TV were filming it, and somebody was filming German TV filming it. And I could see John. I thought, oh, that's what he looks like. And I thought, oh, wow, I can hear me playing. And it was only then I realised, at that exact moment in time when they were filming that, I was standing in this room. And it was like, ah.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. It's like, I don't think I've ever come to terms with that, you know. It's like, but it was absolutely fantastic, you know.
Man.
But I've had some very strange gigs. I had a really strange gig once when there's a really well-known comedian over here. I don't know if he's ever been heard of in America, but he's a legend over here. He's been around for about 40 years or something, called Russ Abbott. And he knocked on my front door one day, and we had a gig in the garden, and it was like, I didn't know him. It was just, this bizarre series of sort of things happened, and that's up on YouTube. You'll have to have a look at that. There's,
wow.
It was just amazing. So things like that just seem to happen to us. I don't try and make them just like.
That's cool, though. I mean, that's something that, you know, it's. I said it earlier, but I love the random stuff that happens. You know, I love that you can be living your life and just sitting in your room. 2 seconds later, something crazy happens that, you know, you can share with the world. And again, it comes back to this technology that, you know, I love and hate it, because I love the technology that you and I can sit here and talk in 2 separate countries. But at the same time, I hate it just because there's so much technology that I got to keep track of everything and blah, blah, blah. But For musicians, I think you can literally from what you just said, even you can literally share your music with the entire world at any given time, and it's just amazing to me. So.
Yeah, I mean, it is really sort of, it's pretty incredible what people take for granted these days,
Yep.
There's no vans full of records and stuff like that, it's like, it's just amazing, and I think the scene's sort of pretty healthy. The blues scene across here is actually really good. There's sort of some good bands, and particularly in this area where we are,
Mm-hmm.
And what I'm finding, because I've been off sort of and playing like lots of other things over the years, I sort of started off in blues and I've only just gone back to it, which is like, it's like, I know it sounds a bit like twee, but like I've rediscovered it again, it's like, but, I love sort of playing, so I've gone back to the blues scene, and I find it's just such a healthy thing. Everybody seems to really sort of like actually help each other, it's like, it's just really cool. It's like, there's, it's things could definitely be worse at EROCK.
Yeah, for sure. I agree, man. I think there's a. When I was in Nashville, I was working for a rock station. I was a DJ, live DJ on a rock station there. So I'm saturated in indie music, but then when I was there, I was saturated in mainstream music. And I gotta say, I don't understand why indie music isn't played side by side with mainstream music. I don't know why they're just not thrown into a big bowl and just played like it is. Because I'm listening to this indie music that is sometimes even better than this mainstream music, and I don't understand why it's not being played. And it's just, I just hate it. And that's where kind of the concept of Revolver Underground became, is because I was so sick and tired of not being able to hear the music that I really wanted to hear about, and hearing the same stupid playlist on this radio station every 2 hours. It just keeps rotating. So, I don't know, man. I'm excited about the scene. I'm excited about indie music. I'm excited about music in general, because I think the day is coming sooner than later that you will hear indie music being played side by side with your mainstream music, and I think that's amazing.
It's happening over here as well, like with like people like Mumford and Sons, and it's like, I think that they're doing quite well in America now as well. I think, well, they're also in the mainstream charts here this very week,
Mm-hmm.
So it's sort of crossing over. But there was one great time over here for radio, and that was when the punk thing started, because for about 3 years you could hear something like the Sex Pistols on. But followed by something like Dire Straits, followed by Kate Bush, and then Ian Dury, and then Iron Maiden. It was just like you didn't know what was coming on next, and it was pretty great, It was then, of course, the majors bought the small companies, and then all of a sudden you used to get the same track on at the same time every day, and it was like,
they just threw everything into a template.
Because it's like that tin of beans, it's like, oh, right, now we can sell this because this is what it is, like, make another million of them,
Yep.
But it's changing. But, I have to say this, it's because one of the main reasons it's changing, actually because of guys like you and the blues jocks and stuff in England, that it's an alternative way. Yeah, you can just go and play stuff what you want, and they'll play it, and they don't say, but it's longer than 3 minutes. We can't possibly put that on. It's like they put it on, and they get you in for sessions, and you, instead of like just doing 2 songs, you go and you do like eight songs. I did a session about 3 weeks ago down in Nottingham, which is like in the Midlands. It's just about midway down the country.
Mm-hmm.
And when I went down there, I says, how many do you want? He said, we're sort of just run it round the artists, it's like, we've got a 3-hour show. If you want to play for 3 hours.
Wow.
Well, no, I don't play for 3 hours, but it's like, it was like, talk about putting the ball back in your court. I thought,
wow,
hey, this is fantastic. And then there was another guitar player called Ainsley Lister. I don't know if you heard of him or not. He's quite well known across here, and he dropped in for an interview. And while he was there, we sort of jammed on his songs, and then he jammed on one of our songs. I think this is great. This is like live radio,
That's crazy.
But it's because of the smaller things it's given the platform for like some small artists, and that whole thing that you're involved in is getting bigger, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like, especially with things moving to the internet, it's got to be great for all of us, you know. It's like, and you know, I mean, the very fact that I could sort of email you and then get to talk to you and then come and do this without having to go through all of the paraphernalia of like through somebody's PR to this and then
that.
Yeah, and can we pencil you in for next year? It's like, I don't know, you know. So I mean, it's very much the groundswell of the underground.
Yep.
It's sort of doing it, you know.
Yeah.
So you got my vote.
Thank you very much. EROCK for president. I don't know. Anyway, what?
It's all right, actually.
What advice would you give to new artists that are just starting out or just plain new to the game?
Right. What I would say. Not that they need to take what I say and put any weight behind it, you know, because it's like otherwise they wouldn't know who I am, you know.
Yeah.
I would sort of say really just like do it for the right reason, just like play your music and make your music better, because it's like, you know, all of these really old cliches and stuff and things like that, they're all old cliches because there's sort of some kind of truth in them, you know. And it's like, yeah, rather than sort of think this is what people want, so this is what we should be doing. Just do what you like, because if you just please yourselves, then there'll be other like-minded people out there that'll go, wow, that's great. And that's what makes you different, you know, instead of, because everybody's trying to do that then, and you're second guessing what people like. Maybe that's not what they like. So just do what you really want to do, I think, you know. And then if you don't get anywhere, at least you've had fun doing it. The other way, if you don't get anywhere, you haven't even had the same amount of fun doing it. Yeah. So I think that, yeah, just sort of stay a bit more sort of true to yourself. And I mean, I could certainly learn from that, because in years gone by, I haven't really done that. I've deviated off and gone and done this and done that, and then thought, well, what sounds like a single, I've done all that stuff. So it's like, now I see that a lot of that is not a waste of time, because I learned a lot through doing it.
Absolutely.
But I do think, I should have just stuck to what I wanted to do in the first place. And it's like, but hindsight is a really great thing, you know.
Yep. And it's always 2020, always.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and everybody else can see it as well.
Yep. So, last question: Are you a vinyl, CD, or MP3 guy?
Do you know? I'm just a music guy. It's like I don't care what it's on. You know, I used to like, in the old days when there was albums, because you got the sleeve and it was the buying experience of having the thing like that. I know that's completely gone now, so it's like the MP3s have got no emotional contact with them or anything like that, but as a tool they're fantastic. So I suppose what I'm saying is like everything's a trade-off with everything else, you know.
Sure.
CDs, I was never that keen on CDs actually, but I think that's because they fall in between the two things, you know.
They didn't really have a long span either in their existence, I don't think.
No, I think they didn't have a real identity either. And trying to get those little booklets out without ripping them was just like that was a real pain. That like
Yes.
you don't have that with an MP3. But then again, you know, it's like with a record sleeve, you know, somebody come around and go, oh, let's have a look at the sleeve. I've never yet had anybody come around and say, oh, you got your iPod with you, can I have a look at one of your MP3s?
Exactly.
So it's
man. Well, I'm torn on that, because I don't care about CDs, but for me it's between vinyl and MP3s, because on vinyl side I love listening to vinyl. But on the MP3 side, being that I go through so many thousands of songs, you know, every week just to try to find a decent few to play on the show, which is hard in itself. Yeah. I would rather have MP3s in that aspect, because I don't have room to have 14,000 CDs other than my own collection. I don't have the room for that. So I'm kind of torn, because as far as quality goes, as far as just sitting back listening, I think I would like to just listen to vinyl. But if I'm doing stuff for the show, it's an MP3, just for simply storage purposes. But yeah. I don't know. It's hard. It's hard to choose.
It's the analog digital thing as well, and it's like, you know, tape or a hard disk. It's like I remember when first had a drum machine, I used to use tape, where I used to bounce the bass drum to tape and then bring it back into the digital thing, because it used to pick up that tape saturation that you just couldn't get off anything else, and it used to sound great, you know. And you know, you listen to some vinyl where there's so much noise on it. Like an example is like Free. I heard it one of the albums once. I've heard more than once, like, but I remember listening to one once and there was like loads of crackles on it, and you know, you thought if you took that crackle out, they would have needed a keyboard player.
Yeah.
It was filling everything in. But there's something really like sort of nice about that whole analog thing, you know.
Yeah.
But what digital has done is it's allowed us to do stuff like this. Because I also remember when it was tape driven before I had my own, that it was really difficult to come up with money just to go in for one day and just like try and get 3 songs out. Having said that, we used to come out with 3 songs all mixed, and I cannot do 3 songs in a day in a year.
Right.
You know, it's like it just takes, because you've got too much control, you know. But I'm relinquishing a lot of that control of the machines now. Now I'm just thinking, no, that's all right. Like move on.
Right.
And it's like it's trying to get back to analog values in the digital world. I think would be good.
Absolutely. Well, where can we find your music?
Well, it's pretty much on all the digital sites, iTunes. CD Baby, Amazon, so it's up there. I've got a limited edition CD as well, which was put out by an Austrian company. It's a limited edition 500, and that can be. I tell you, if I give you my web address, then I'll put a link to it on my website. My web address is really easy, actually. It's trevorsewell.com.
Okay. So
it's just my name.com.
Sure.
And I'm on Facebook if anybody wants to join us at trev.sewell. So it'll be good to see people like sort of popping up there as well, you know. But Facebook's great though. Facebook has been one of the best things for musicians, I think. And I never thought I would hear myself say that because I resisted going on it for so long, you know. I thought, oh, I'm not doing that.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you know, it's like cool, you know. But I mean, this is amazing. So it's funny. I feel like I know where you now, EROCK. In fact, if I come out to LA on the 15th, you've got to come down with us to this awards thing. You must do that.
Absolutely.
Well, if you want to do that,
I look forward to it for sure. I look forward to it. There's anytime I can get out here in LA, I am on it. So that will give me an excuse to go out and we'll hang out and we'll make it work.
That sounds absolutely great. If I come out, I'll be coming out on the 14th till about the 18th, I think. So there'll be plenty of time to sort of get together. But definitely on the 15th, we've got to do that together.
We'll make it happen. There it is.
Fantastic.
Trevor Sewell, thank you so much for hanging out. I do appreciate it, and we're looking forward to some more music coming from you. But TrevorSewell.com is the website. You can also find more information at RevolverUnderground.com as well. Trevor, thank you very much.
And thank you very much for having us. It's really been a pleasure. It's great. Absolutely. Nice one, EROCK. Catch you later, mate.
We'll see you, man.
Yeah.
Revolver Underground.